So why have we chosen this particular question? Why have we chosen this particular question? For each of the dimensions of the building block model, calculate one performance indicator for MSC and also for AC, using the data available. Briefly justify your choice of performance. Justify your choice of performance indicator and discuss MSC's performance relative to other OSC service centers. Now let's discuss exam technique. Before we went on lunch break, we had a very detailed review of how to answer these questions and how to move from those marks 46%, 47%, 48%. We have said these marks really don't mean that you have really failed per se. You know the subject, or at least what came in the paper that you wrote, you know it well. Where is the problem? Poor exam technique. And we discussed in that article that for this area of the syllabus, there are two things that are important, or things that can bring you down or make you do well. One is time management. So if we have got a question dealing with performance, one of the issues is time management. How to manage your time. But the other one is exam technique. Exam technique in terms of breaking down the question requirement. And that detailed analysis by the examining team showed us how to understand the requirement. So when you look at this question then, there's a number of things. For each of the dimension, they say you need to calculate. So the mark I will check for, there's a mark for calculation for MSC and OSC. So there and there we expect the point. Number two, justify your choice. So this performance indicator that you have calculated here for both, can we have the justification? Why did you choose it? Number three, discuss the relative performance. So now we expect a discussion of relative performance between the two. Who has performed better between these two? Our MSC and OSC. Who has performed better? So these are the three items. This is what was expected. So a marker, we want to see these items here. And if they have been put clearly standalone, it will be easier for him or for her, because you'll just be checking these figures, check the justification, check the discussion. So this is what we learned. And we learned that to read the question, you must start from the requirement. Then from there, remember what else do we cover? What else do you cover? We came here, we say that You must quickly read through the introduction so that you know the business that you are in. What is the business? What is it that you have promised? Remember, this will help you with the justification. Why have you chosen that particular measure? How will it help the company? Want that justification. Why have you chosen that particular measure? And also, it will help you in a discussion. Who has performed well? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we'll cover the model and we'll come to explain what are some of the possible measures that you can use. So you're going to give me the possible measures that we can use. You'll be typing in and also you'll be giving justifications. So now let us go to the model. Let us go to the model. Now we have our notes. We have our notes. So the building block model is another model that is expected, that we're expected to know as you're paying for the exam. Why? It brings in both financial and non-financial aspects. So the examiner expects that we must be able, all of us, to discuss or to know the components of the building block model. Okay. So what are these aspects of the building block model? Performance measurement in the service businesses are sometimes being perceived as more difficult than manufacturing businesses. Why is it perceived more difficult? Well, it's because of the characteristics of a service. The service has got characteristics which make it different from the product. And those characteristics are what bring about a challenge. What are those characteristics of a service? Please, can you type in the characteristics of a service? Can you all type in the characteristics of a service which make it more difficult to evaluate compared to a product? Can you please post on the chat? Okay, good, you got it right, guys. That was very good spirit. So performance measurement in certain businesses has been perceived as more difficult. Why has it been perceived more difficult? Because of these characteristics of the service. These characteristics make it more difficult to monitor performance and measure performance. So then what is the solution? Fitzgerald and Moon suggested that the performance management system in a service organization can be analyzed as a combination of 3 blocks. So a performance management system or tool was developed specifically for the service industry, service organization. So if you're running a service outfit, I know a number of us are entrepreneurs now. In this country, we have a lot of entrepreneurs, isn't it? And most of you, your entrepreneurship may be in the service industry. Yeah, we may not be going to manufacturing. Manufacturing is not easy, but most of you, if you're going to be entrepreneurs, your entrepreneurs will be in the service industry, meaning that you'll be providing a service. So if you're running that service industry, running a restaurant, There are a lot of restaurants around. If you're running that restaurant, you're running that saloon, the hairdo shop. The question is, how can we evaluate and how can we measure performance? How can we manage performance? The answer is we must look to the building block model. This model. That's what we must look to. So in this model, we're saying that there are 3 building blocks of a good performance management system. What is that? There's dimensions, there's standards, and there's rewards. So these are the blocks. These are the blocks that we use to construct a performance management tool. Construct a performance management system. Let us break down these. Let's break down these. So first of all, if you are building a performance management system, this model says you must start with standards first of all. Internally developed standards. So we're talking about internally developed standards. You must develop standards internally in your organization. These are internally developed. Or targets. Where there's word standard, we can also say targets. These targets, for them to work well, they must have these characteristics: ownership, achievable, and they must carry some element of fairness or equity. So these are the 3 aspects of the standards or targets. You need to develop standards or targets on what we call dimensions. So you need to have proper standards developed, but these standards, for them to work well, we need these elements. So we need to develop standards for these items here: profit or financial performance, and competitiveness. Now, if there are 2 things that you need to do well in your organization, is these, and we call these results. We call these results, or we call them outcomes. These here are the inputs. These are the inputs. These are the inputs and these are the outputs. So for you to do well in terms of profitability, to generate profits, or to do well financially, and for you to be ahead of your competitors, what's the prerequisite? Quality. Your service must be of a very good quality. Resource utilization. You must use your resources effectively and wisely. Then we have flexibility. You need to be very flexible. If you're going to capture a lot of customers today, you need to be flexible. If you're not flexible, there's no way you can capture customers. So we need to be flexible. And as we saw earlier on, we need to be innovative. We need to look at the new products, new menus. Remember what we saw from the balance scorecard? new menus. After we set standards or targets for each one of these, and people achieve those standards or manage those standards, the model says you must have a clear reward system in place. A good performance management system. A good performance management system should include a reward scheme. You can't have a performance management system without a reward scheme. You need to have a reward scheme. But it's not just a reward scheme, no. That's the formula that you use to calculate the reward must be clear. The size of the reward must be motivational. And also it must be controllable by the recipient. So this is what this model says. Now we can call this technical knowledge. We saw earlier on that you must know all these. Why? We saw earlier on the balance scorecard, isn't it? That the balance scorecard had 4 perspectives. 2 were dealt with, and 2 it was up to you to complete them. So unless you know all the 4. So in the same way here, we need to know all these elements. You see in multiple choice questions, these features of the standard and rewards can easily be examined. And then you've got the dimensions. How many dimensions we have? We've got 2 here, we've got 4 there, giving us a total of 6. Now remember we started with a question. Remember that we started with a question, Yeah, you have read through the question already, isn't it? Those who came early, your friends have read through the question already, and this is a 2018 question. Now we're just going to go straight into talking about the solution or the answer to that question. Okay, so those who came early, they have read through the question. The question is on your WhatsApp page. So if you have got any new student this afternoon, we have formulated a WhatsApp page and we are putting everything on the WhatsApp page. Okay, so if you are not on the WhatsApp page, please let me know. If there's any student who's not on the WhatsApp page, let me know. How do I know? You just send me send me a message. Send me a message, and once you send me a message, then I'll be in a position to respond. So as I respond, then we'll be able to share with you the link so that you join. Okay, so we can now go to our question. We can now go to our question. Okay, so the person who is not on WhatsApp, please send me a WhatsApp message, that number, so that I can share the link with you. So let's answer the question now. Let's answer the question together. For each of the dimensions of the building block model, calculate one performance indicator for MSC and one for OSC, average using the data available. Okay, in view of time, we may not manage to do all this. So what we want to do is I want you to type in the dimensions. From the information given, please, let's type in what can we use for financial. For financial, what can we use from the information given? Please type in on the chart. Type in on the chart. What you think can use as a financial performance indicator? Those who are not on the WhatsApp, please just drop me a message. I put my number there. So just drop me a message so that I can reply. And as I reply, that will be okay. Okay, let me see what you have received. Sales revenue. Sales revenue. Okay. What of others? What performance for financial? Remember, the building block model says you must monitor performance in the area of financials or profit. So from this information given, what KPI, what performance indicator can you come up with? One colleague says sales revenue. Let me check another one. Gross profit margin. Gross profit margin. So gross profit margin, that is another one there. Okay. So the gross profit margin, as you can see from the information given, can do a gross profit margin, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Let's move to the next one. Competitive performance. Can we all indicate what do you think can use for competitive performance from the information given?
Competitive performance.
Competitive performance. Competitive performance. Competitive performance. Which one can we use? Can you please type in? Can you type in? Competitive performance. Okay, information is coming. Competitive performance. Okay. So you see, how do you develop these measures? You ask yourself, You want to answer the question, am I competitive? Am I competitive? How do I know that customers prefer me? How can I know that new customers think I'm the person? What can make them choose me compared to others? Are they choosing me compared to others? Are they choosing me? Because to be competitive mean that we have got two entities, A and B. So when a customer is coming, does it go to you or it does go to that way? If the customer, when they reach here, they decide to go to your place, to your car wash, then you're saying you are competitive. Okay. All right. We'll shortly be sharing the answers. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. I'll start with the innovation. Let's start with innovation. From the information given, how can you check whether you're innovative? Innovation. What performance indicator can you use from the information that has been given? You type in as well. Please, only if you are typing, you are all free to type. You are still, I can see you are still learning how to choose KPIs. All of you are still learning how to choose KPIs. You are still learning how to choose KPIs, nothing to worry about. Number of new service packs developed. Number of new service packs developed. Okay. Let's move to resource utilization. Resource utilization. Resource. So you ask yourself, what is the key resource that we have in this business? What is the key resource in terms of the input that we're having? And is this resource being used properly? How can you get evidence? So what type of a ratio? What type of a ratio can tell you about resource utilization? Or what type of a KPI? So first of all, ask yourself, what is a major resource in this business? Am I using it efficiently? What is a key resource in this business? Are you using it well? Are you making a maximum use of that resource? Are you optimizing that resource? What resource is that? Or what resources are those? Postings, I'm looking for postings. Let's post. Identify the key resource and how you can know whether you're using that resource well or not. Okay, if we are not very sure about that, okay. All right, we've got, now I've got good answer here. The answers are here. The key resource is the staff. Excellent. The key resource is labor. That's true. So how can you measure how well you're utilizing the labor? How can you get evidence? How can you monitor labor utilization? So you need a KPI now. Let us move to flexibility. Are you flexible? Do you have enough people to take care of peak time demand? And also quality. So I want you to tell me about quality and flexibility. What KPIs can we use? What KPIs can we use? I'm looking for the posting. Please, let's be posting. Don't be shy. There's nothing like wrong or right. No, you are still learning. I can see from your answers that you are still learning. And we'll come up with a formula of how to learn this. Huh? Yeah. Flexibility and quality. Maybe quality is easy for most of you. Please, can you tell me something about quality? What KPI can you use? Okay, number of jobs from repeat customers. Now you must indicate whether this is quality or this is, you must tell us that this is for quality. You must indicate that this is for quality or this is for flexibility. So you must indicate. Okay, that's okay. All right, you have done quite well within what you have studied. You have tried to put down. So this is, there's a number of lessons here. The lessons are to learn, for you to learn some of the items, most of the items on this paper, use a question. So instead of taking the book and start reading what is the building block model, if you take this question from 2018, it will teach you everything you need to know about building block model in terms of the question. So that is why at the beginning I say that as you prepare for the exams, you need the questions. Now, some of you, the question I've received in the past when I've given this advice is, how do we know the questions that I can use? This is where you need now guidance. This is where you need tuitions. You need a tutor to guide you, because the role of a tutor is to guide you that here is a question. If you do this question, I'm 90% sure that you have understood the building block model. So this is where now you need to be guided. This syllabus is very wide. It's a very wide syllabus. If you take the book and you're reading on your own, you can go on and on reading. But if you're guided, somebody will tell you that in this area, you use that question. There, use that question. So for instance, you have seen the two questions we have discussed, balance scorecard and the building block. Now let us learn. Let's look at your answers now. So we're going to learn now to see how did you fare? How did you fare? What are some of the possible KPIs? What are some of the possible KPIs? So that's what we're now going to learn. Okay. So those of you who are supplying answers now, you want to see your answers, isn't it? A number of you supplied very good answers. Let us see. Number one. Here, competitiveness. How can you tell whether we are competitive or not? What is one way? It's a percentage of websites converted to orders. For instance, for MSC, there were 14,000 website hits. But how many of those? So out of so many website hits, this number. That's the number of website hits. How many of them became concrete orders? That will tell you how competitive you are. So you have learned something. Now, remember, the marker expects a calculation, justification, and a discussion of who has performed well. So in our marking, I'll mark that, I'll mark that. We cannot all say the same things. No, we may differ here. But I would want that point to be mentioned, justification. I also want to see that. So your KPI may not be robust, may not be the best of KPIs. But for justification and for the comparison, we'll give you marks. Are we okay with that one? Are you okay with that? Mm-hmm. Okay, if that is all right, let's go to the next one. Let's try the next one. Financial performance, I think we are told, somebody told us that the gross profit margin seems to be ideal there. That is correct. Okay. Quality, I think a number of you got it. Percentage of jobs from repeat customers shows a quality. Flexibility, time taken to a job. Resource utilization, how much sales are we making per each mechanic? Have you seen that one? We want each mechanic to generate as much revenue as possible. It's more like those of you working for accounting firms. You are supposed to generate as much income as possible as the resource for the accounting firm. So how much sales, how much income is attributable to each profession? That's resource utilization. So the clue is find the major resource. And how can you tell whether that resource is productive or not? Normally it's sales. Sales is the biggest indicator of resource utilization. Right? Yeah. Innovation, I think we got it right. The percentage of revenue from the new packs. So you look at total revenue. You look at total revenue. The total revenue for that was this one here. The revenue that came from new packs were these. So you add them up. For the average total revenue from the new innovations, that's what we have. I hope this question has helped you with a building block model, how to present your answers, and how possible to come up with KPIs. I hope this question has helped you. And this we can do for many other topics as well. Are there any questions? Are there any questions or comments? And sometimes not a question, but also would love to have comments on, for instance, what have you learned? Huh? I haven't heard anyone say anything on this group. Can you have some comments in terms of what have you learned? Or if it's a question, what question do you have? If that is okay, people, let's see, let's make a move. On the notes I've given you, we have given you also some ideas in terms of the possible measures of performance. We have summarized some possible measures of performance that you can use for the building block for each one of the dimensions. And that's the question that we've just been doing. Okay. Let us move on to the next item. So far, we have looked at the private sector in terms of financial and non-financial performance. That's what we have done. So far, we have looked at the private sector. The private sector organizations that have got the private shareholders who have invested their equity. Now, I want to move, and we have seen that in the private sector, the examiner wants to talk about financial and non-financial performance. Let's now go to another type of organization, not-for-profit organizations. Not-for-profit organizations. So not-for-profit organizations is another set of organizations. Not-for-profit organizations is another type of organizations, and we must all know how to appraise, how to measure and manage performance. So there's one question here. Challenges of performance measurement. So earlier on, we saw that in the private sector, in the service industry, there's some challenges. And the challenges came from the nature of the service. What of in the not-for-profit organizations? Vis-a-vis the public sector. What challenges do we have? Please, can you type in the challenges of performance measurement in this type of industry? Tell me about the challenges. Tell me about the challenges in performance measurement or management in the public sector. Okay, Let's do like we did earlier on. Can we post? Can we post? Can we post? Lack of profit motive, that is true. We have somebody indicating that lack of profit measures, which are more, if you want, objective. Another one. Another one. Let us post, let us post, let us post. Let's keep on posting. Let's keep on posting. Let us post, let us post. I'm waiting for post, please. So financial constraints. Political and social considerations are more important. Political and social considerations. So we've got the issue of political and the social considerations. They're more important. Okay, so against these challenges, what's the solution? We saw that in the service industry, what was our solution? What was the solution in the service industry? The building block model. That was the solution. What of in the public sector? What's the solution? The solution is a value for money. So use a value for money. We use the value for money. So the value for money is what we use. So we use the value for money. Now, what is the value for money? How does the value for money work? How does the value for money work? Okay, here's another illustration of why we need to go through the examiner's report. Here's another illustration. I said here, check September, December 2021 examiner's report. So in the recent examiner's report, that is for the September, December 2021 exams, there was a question on value for money. And this is example question, sample question number 4. So as part of your preparation for the junior exams, I would urge all of you to take this examiner's report and read through it. You're going to find a good number of sample questions. You're going to find sample questions that clarify, or that tells us how the examiner or what the examiner is thinking of or is looking at in the recent exam. So let us try the question now. Let us look at this question together. So what do we want to learn through this question? We want to look at value for money, the way it was examined in the recent exam. Core Care Trust is a public sector health and care home providing care for the elderly. Income is received on a contract basis from the local government authority. Care workers are mainly full-time staff, but occasionally temporary staff from a local employment agency must be brought in at great expense to fill staff rota gaps. There is a regulatory board monitoring the work done by care homes known as CHQC, which sets targets for the standard of care expected. It is generally regarded that residents spend a much happier time whilst in a care home if they're able to establish long-lasting relationships with the care home staff providing their direct care. The 6 performance measures below are used by the management of Core Care Trust to monitor performance as part of the value for money framework. Now that's our interest. Our interest is value for money. Now here's a question. Match the performance measures to the elements of the value for money framework which they are measured. Okay. So these, what are they? Have you seen? Let's go back to the basics. Economy. What does economy entail? Who is economical? Who is economical? What does it mean to be economical? Or somebody has posted, let me check the post, what it says. Oh no, it's an old one. You see? No, we don't have anything. What does it mean to be economical? What does being economical involve, Tim? Careful use of resources. So I've got careful use of resources. Okay. Now, that is good. That's okay. Careful use of resources. So you see what the examiner is saying here. Instead of asking us to define what is economy, he wants you to demonstrate. Now, this is application. So which one of these? So let me add to that definition. Economy is about your major inputs, procuring your major inputs cheaply. So this is about procuring your major inputs. Not the smaller inputs, no, the major inputs. Cheaply. But we should not compromise two things, the quantity and the quality. Procuring major inputs cheaply, but in the process, do not compromise on quantity and quality. So which one of these would you put here? So this is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and 6 is down here. So which one would you put here? Which one do you think qualifies for economy? Hmm? Which one would you put where? Okay, let's go to the next one. Efficiency. Efficiency looks at the relationship between what? And output. So being efficient means that you are getting as much output as possible for given input, or you operate with minimal input. Minimal input. So which ones of these? And effectiveness is about meeting your objectives. Effectiveness, an effective person meets the objectives. An effective person meets the objectives. So effectiveness is about meeting your objectives. So which ones of these are about effectiveness? Which ones of these are about effectiveness? So you see, instead of us just reading and reading the book, this examiner's report has taught us now what it means to be effective, economical. So here we are. What does this test? What does it test? I'm sure we all agree what it tests, isn't it? That this was testing not just the 3 A's, but what? The application of the 3 E's. Applying it to a situation. So let's go. Economy. Which one was about economy? Direct staff as a percentage of contract income. Food cost per meal served to residents. Efficiency. Temporary staff usage as a percentage of total staff hours. Number of voids. Effectiveness, achieving the standard that was designated there. And also staff turnover. Economy is an input measure and considers where the resources are being acquired at the required quality for the cheapest price. Efficiency links inputs and outputs. Effectiveness measures outputs and considers if the overall objectives are being met. I've shared with you this examiner's report on the forum because I want you to go through this examiner's report. How is that? Are we okay? Are there any comments? Are there any comments? Are there any comments? Any comments? Any comments? Any comments? Are there any comments? Are there any comments? Are there any comments? Okay, so we have looked at the public sector and the equation value for money there. Where to now? We are coming to the concept of divisional performance. We are coming to the question of divisional performance. I want to look at these three items. Responsibility accounting, key performance indicators, and transfer pricing. So these are the items that we now want to look at. Responsibility accounting, performance indicators, and transfer pricing. Is that okay? All right, so let's take a break. Let's take a break before we can tackle these elements. So we take a 15 minutes break, and after that we can continue now looking at these items. So let's take a break now.